My white half-sister told me my black ass didn't belong in the family, but I didn't understand what she truly meant until I saw the footage. The moment I found the hidden camera recordings, I realized my sister wasn't just after my husband. What she wanted, even my enemy wouldn't go that far. If you're still here with me, tell me where you're listening from. I'd love to know how far this story has traveled. Now back to the story. And the moment I realized something was deeply wrong started on an ordinary afternoon. I was sitting in my car somewhere in Atlanta, still in my work clothes, when the alert from the hidden camera popped up on my phone. At first, I thought it was just my sister passing through the living room in my house like she always did. But when I opened the live feed, my heart stopped. I didn't know it then, but this wasn't just betrayal. It was the first crack in a plan meant to end my life. She wasn't just passing through. She was standing in front of my husband, blocking his way, a strange smile on her face, one I had never seen her give anyone but him. I turned the volume up. "You and I are the same," she said. "We fit. We look like a real couple. Not like you and her. Not like you and her black ass." I gasped so loudly I had to cover my mouth. Daniel flinched. He actually flinched. He didn't defend me. He didn't tell her to stop. He didn't say, "Don't talk about my wife like that." He just whispered, "Emma, stop. Someone could hear you." Someone. Not my wife. Someone. And the part that still haunts me? This moment was nothing compared to what they were already planning. She laughed like she'd won something. My husband stepped back, barely. "Stop it, Emma. We talked about this." But she only laughed. A soft, poisonous laugh that made my stomach twist. "If you really wanted me to stop," Emma said, "you would have told her the first time I made a move. But you didn't. You kept quiet. That means you want this." I felt the blood drain from my body. She knew. She knew he never told me about the first incident. She was weaponizing his silence. She took one step closer, then another, and before I could even process it, she pulled her top over her head and let it fall to the floor. "You think I don't notice the way you look at me? You want this. You're just scared to admit it." Her voice was low, confident. Hungry. But the hunger I should have feared wasn't for him. It was for everything I owned, including my life. My husband hesitated. I saw it in slow motion. His jaw tightening. That moment, the exact second where a person decides who they are, it broke something inside me. And then he touched her. My whole body went cold. I watched my husband, my love, my life, reach for her while she pulled him in like she had been waiting her whole life for this moment. His hands on her skin, her mouth on his neck, their bodies pressing together like I didn't exist. A sound escaped me, something between a cry and a gasp. I was alone in my car, watching my world collapse in the glow of a small phone screen. The cameras I installed out of fear had just confirmed the truth I prayed I would never see. They didn't even make it to the bedroom. Right there on my living room couch, the one I chose, the one I cleaned, the one I curled up on with him, they betrayed me. And all I could do was stare while my heart cracked open slowly, painfully, and completely. My name is Kate Trump. I'm 25 years old, born in Houston, raised between there and Atlanta, and for most of my life, I thought family meant loyalty. I thought blood meant something. But the last few months have taught me that the people who share your DNA can sometimes be the very ones who sharpen the knife. To understand how I ended up watching my half-sister seduce my husband, and then plot my death, I need to explain how we got here. 3 years ago, when my father died, everything in my world tilted. He and Emma's mother were killed in a car crash on I-10 outside Houston. One phone call, one night, and suddenly Emma was an orphan at 17. I remember standing in that cold hospital hallway while she sat in shock, staring at her hands. Even though we didn't grow up together, her mother never liked my mother, and our families were always awkwardly blended. I looked at her and saw a girl with no one left. I remember the way her mother once looked at me when I was 13 and whispered to my mother, "Her daddy only married you because he felt guilty about leaving you alone with a mixed baby." I didn't understand it back then. Now I do. Emma grew up hearing things meant to cut me down before I ever had a chance. A girl who had just lost the only parent she had. She may have been the daughter from my father's second marriage, and she may have always looked at me with a strange mixture of envy and judgment, but she was still my sister. And I was married. I had a home. I had stability. So I did what felt right. I brought her to live with me and my husband. At the time, Daniel and I had only been married 6 months. We were still adjusting to sharing a bathroom, to balancing bills, to learning each other in that raw, vulnerable, newlywed way. Bringing a grieving teenager into the middle of that wasn't easy, but I thought love could stretch. I thought Daniel would understand. For the first few weeks, things were normal enough. Emma kept to herself. She spent most of her time in her room, scrolling through her phone or journaling, barely speaking at dinner. But slowly, subtle things began to shift. She started watching me in a strange way, like she was cataloging everything I did. My routines. My passwords. My habits. I'd catch her standing in the hallway when Daniel kissed me goodbye, her eyes unreadable. She'd ask oddly personal questions. What time do you usually get home from work? You leave your laptop open a lot, huh? Why does Dad's estate still need your signature? That last one should have alarmed me. But back then, I thought she was simply trying to understand how probate worked. I didn't realize she was trying to understand how to cut me out. My father's estate was complicated. He left everything split evenly between us, but because she was under 21 at the time, my father left instructions that both of us verify the transfer documents together when she reached 21. We both had to sign, confirm identity, provide biometrics. But I didn't know yet that this tiny legal detail would soon become the reason they needed me gone. I was the executor, not because he loved me more, but because I was the oldest. It was practical. For Emma, it felt personal. I started noticing her hanging around Daniel more. Small things at first, joining him in the kitchen when he was making coffee, asking him to help her fix her laptop, laughing too loudly at jokes that weren't funny. I brushed it off as teenage awkwardness. Until one night, I overheard her talking to a friend on the phone. She didn't know I was coming down the stairs. She's 25, she whispered. She gets everything first. If I marry Daniel, I get her share too. She's too soft to fight back. My blood turned to ice. If I had trusted that instinct, everything that happened next might have never happened. I didn't say anything. I couldn't. My brain went blank in a way that only fear can cause. Instead, I slowly backed up the stairs and pretended nothing happened. But from that moment on, I watched her differently. And then I started noticing things about Daniel too. The way he sat up straighter when she walked past. The way he defended her whenever I mentioned boundaries. She's been through a lot, Kate, he'd say. Don't be so hard on her. I let it go because I wanted peace. I wanted harmony. I wanted to believe my home was safe. But the more I tried to dismiss my suspicions, the more reality came clawing through the cracks. My emails were being accessed at odd hours. My phone location toggled itself on when I never used it. My bank sent me a notice about a login attempt from a device in the house. That's when I realized, whatever was happening wasn't in my head. So I bought cameras. Small, inexpensive, motion-sensitive devices I found on Amazon. I told Daniel they were for added security, because of the break-ins reported in our neighborhood. He nodded, uninterested. Emma didn't even pretend to care. And so, quietly, secretly, I placed them where no one would ever think to look. Above the bookshelf. Inside a decorative vase. Behind the TV. In the hallway near the bedrooms. I installed them hoping to catch Emma invading my privacy. I never expected to catch her invading my marriage. Or planning something far worse. I didn't need days of footage to understand what was happening. The first night I opened the camera app and saw Emma sitting too close to my husband, I felt something inside me crack. But the nights that followed stripped away every layer of denial I tried to hide behind. And still, I had no idea the real danger hadn't even started. Emma didn't just flirt, she stalked him emotionally. She watched me, studied Daniel, and pushed boundaries one calculated inch at a time. And Daniel, he didn't push her away. He didn't run. He didn't tell me the truth. He let her get comfortable. He let us fall apart without even blinking. I watched her first sit beside him, then lean on him, then slide her hand across his arm. He kept saying stop, but he never stood up, and he never told me a word. That kind of silence tells its own story. Then came the day she stripped her top off right in front of him. He didn't walk out the front door like a man with a conscience should. He let her climb onto his lap. And that's how my marriage ended, with his refusal to stand up for me. But the worst part wasn't even the cheating. It was the conversation they had afterward, one that made my whole body go cold. Emma told him straight, "Once she's gone, the inheritance is ours. You know that." Gone. Not divorced. Not left. Gone. She talked about my father's estate like it was a prize she'd already earned. She talked about my life like it was a hurdle she needed to clear. And Daniel didn't shut her down. He didn't threaten to call the police. He just stood there shaking, like a man who wasn't innocent, but wasn't brave enough to admit what he'd already allowed. That day, I sat alone with the truth. My sister, the girl I took in, fed, clothed, protected, wanted my husband, my inheritance, and my life. And my husband, well, he'd already given her 2 out of the 3. If you love stories of betrayal, hidden truths, and justice that strikes when no one expects it, make sure to like this video and subscribe to the channel. New stories drop every day, each one darker, sharper, and more unforgettable than the last. Now back to the story. After watching them together that day, their bodies tangled on the same sofa where Daniel once held me during thunderstorms, something in me shut down. I didn't scream or confront them. I didn't even cry the way a betrayed wife is supposed to. Instead, I slipped into a strange, numb performance, like I was acting in a life I no longer recognized. I cooked breakfast. I laughed at jokes I didn't hear. I asked them about their day. They watched me too, but in a different way. Daniel became overly gentle, overly helpful, always hovering near me as if kindness could erase the things he'd done. Emma grew bolder, walking around the house with a carelessness that told me she no longer saw me as a threat, just an obstacle she had already halfway pushed out of the picture. The night I realized they weren't just betraying me but planning to eliminate me, something inside me shifted. It wasn't the kind of explosion you see in movies. It was quiet, too quiet, like a light inside me flicked off, and another one switched on right behind it, sharper, colder, and much more awake. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I didn't pack a bag and run. I sat on the edge of my bed in that dark Atlanta house, my body trembling while my mind finally stopped begging for explanations. The woman in the camera feed wasn't my little sister anymore. She wasn't the 17-year-old orphan I took in. She wasn't the girl crying in a hospital hallway 3 years ago. She was a threat. And the man sitting beside her, the man who promised to protect me, had already chosen which side he wanted to stand on. I lay awake until dawn, thinking through every possible scenario. If I confronted them with no proof, they'd twist it and call me paranoid. If I called the police too early, they'd dismiss it as family conflict. If I tried to leave the house without a plan, Emma would notice instantly. Not one person in my life knew what was happening. I had no siblings I could trust. My mom had passed when I was 14. My closest friend lived 2 states away. And Daniel had isolated me so gently over the years that I didn't realize it until I needed someone. But the cameras, they were my lifeline. The next morning, I gathered every clip, every whisper, every kiss, every sentence that hinted at my death. My hands shook so badly I had to stop several times to breathe. When I finished, I sent everything to an encrypted folder and backed it up twice. I stared at my phone for a long time, wondering who could possibly help me. And then, out of nowhere, a name came to me like a whisper from memory. Mr. Lawson. My father's attorney in Houston. He had handled the probate process since day one. He had been the one explaining the inheritance terms. He understood Emma's motivations better than anyone. I called him. He answered on the 3rd ring. Kate. His voice was surprised, warm in a fatherly way I didn't realize I needed. Is everything all right? No, I said, and my voice cracked. I think my life is in danger. There was no disbelief. No hesitation. Just a long, steady inhale, followed by, tell me everything. So I did. I told him about the cameras, the affair, the plans for the estate, the day Emma whispered about getting rid of me. Every detail poured out of me like poison I'd been holding in my throat for weeks. When I finished, there was silence on the line. Kate, he finally said, you need to listen to me very carefully. You cannot confront them. You cannot accuse them. And you cannot leave that house in a panic. If they're already planning something, sudden behavior changes will alert them. I know, I whispered. That's why I called you. He exhaled sharply. All right. I'm flying to Atlanta tomorrow. But in the meantime, you're going to prepare. Prepare for what? For the moment they make their move. That sentence stayed in my bones. Because deep down, I knew the move was coming sooner than he thought. Because they will. And when they do, we will make sure the law sees exactly who the aggressors are. My stomach twisted. How? With evidence. And you already have more than most attempted murder cases ever start with. But we need their intent on record, clear, undeniable, irrefutable. I swallowed hard. How do I get that? I'm going to send you something, he said. A camera disguised as a pen. It records audio and video. Keep it on you at all times. Wear it when they're home. My chest tightened. What if they try something before you get here? He paused. Then you stay 10 steps ahead. You act normal. You smile. You eat only from sealed packages. And you never ever drink anything unless you open it yourself. My blood ran cold. Because he said it like he'd seen this before. When the package arrived overnight, I tucked the pen into my shirt pocket, pretending it was nothing. That evening, Emma knocked on my bedroom door with a mug of tea. This was the night everything quietly shifted. The night their plan finally stepped into the light. Thought you might want something warm, she said, smiling like she hadn't tried to straddle my husband 48 hours earlier. I held the mug. I didn't drink. She watched me closely, too closely. Thanks, I said softly. I really appreciate it. The pen recorded everything. That night, footage from the kitchen caught Emma whispering to Daniel. She didn't drink it. She's getting suspicious. Daniel sighed heavily. We need to be careful. We need to be fast, Emma snapped. Her birthday is coming up. People will think it was stress. Or medication. We can make it look clean. Clean. A word people use for crime scenes, not families. I watched the clip 3 times, shaking. That was the moment I stopped feeling like a victim. That was the moment something inside me hardened, sharpened, and stood up straight. But even then, I didn't realize I was only standing at the edge of what they were truly planning. If they wanted me gone, I would make sure the truth destroyed them first. And for the first time since the nightmare began, I wasn't afraid. I was ready. The night everything erupted started like any other, with quiet lies and careful smiles. By then, I had learned to slip into the role of the oblivious wife. I cooked dinner. I asked how their day went. I laughed when I needed to. But long before either of them realized it, the power in the house had shifted. They were acting. I was documenting. The pen camera clipped to my shirt picked up everything, not just what my ears could catch, but the whispers I wasn't close enough to hear, and not just what my eyes could see, but the glances humans aren't built to notice. It captured every blind spot, every hidden movement, every low murmur they thought the world was too deaf and too blind to record. It recorded everything Emma muttered under her breath while pretending to wash the dishes. It recorded the way Daniel paced behind her. And it recorded the half-whispered argument they thought I couldn't hear from the hallway. Tonight, Emma hissed. Stop stalling. As she turned back to the sink, Emma muttered under her breath, barely audible but still picked up by the pen camera, she walks around here like she belongs here. Then quieter, Dad ruined everything letting her mother trap him. I'm not sure, Daniel murmured. She seemed different today. Emma grabbed his collar and yanked him close. She's weak, she said sharply. She won't fight back. She trusts you. That's why it has to be tonight. I walked into the kitchen with a soft smile as if I'd heard nothing. Everything okay? Emma whipped around with a sugary grin that didn't reach her eyes. Perfect. We were just talking about dessert. Great, I said. I'm starving. Her smile stretched too wide. And that's when I knew, the moment Mr. Lawson warned me about had finally arrived. The house felt wrong, like a stage before the final act of a tragedy. The lights were dimmer, the silence heavier. And Emma was overly eager, overly helpful, waving me to the dining table with a flourish. Sit, Kate. You must be tired. On the table was a steaming mug. The tea. The same tea they had whispered about. The same tea she was positive I would drink. My pulse thudded in my ears. Emma leaned on her elbows, chin resting in her palms, eyes gleaming with anticipation. Daniel sat across from me, tapping his foot under the table, avoiding my gaze. "This looks nice," I said, lifting the mug. My hands didn't shake. Not anymore. I brought the cup to my lips, pretending to inhale the aroma, then I paused, frowning. "Smells strong. Did you add something new?" Emma's smile stiffened. "Just honey." "Oh." I tilted my head. I thought honey didn't dissolve well in boiling water. Her eyes flashed for half a second, too fast for Daniel to catch, but not for me. I set the mug down gently. "You know what?" I said. "Why don't we toast? All three of us. A family toast." Emma blinked. "A toast?" "Yes," I said cheerfully. "Let's share." Before she could react, I stood, grabbed 2 more mugs from the cabinet, and poured water from the kettle, the same kettle Emma had used. I pushed 1 mug toward her and 1 toward Daniel. Emma stared at hers like it was poison. "Oh, I'll have mine later," she said too quickly. I widened my eyes in fake innocence. "Why? You said this blend was your favorite. You should enjoy it." Her smile cracked. Daniel looked between us, confused, unraveling. Emma pushed the mug back. "No, really." Emma shoved the mug back toward me, her voice cracking as she snapped, "I'm not drinking anything you touched." Daniel flinched. I froze. She blinked hard and added quickly, "I didn't mean it like that." But she did. We all knew she did. "Drink it," I said softly, the sweetness gone from my voice. Both of them froze. Daniel swallowed. "Kate, honey, why are you acting like this?" I met his eyes. For the first time in weeks, I looked at him the way a stranger looks at danger. "Because I know." The room went still. I reached for the remote on the table and clicked the power button. The TV flickered to life. And then, their faces drained of color, the living room filled with the sound of Emma's voice. "Once she's gone, the inheritance is ours." Daniel staggered back, hitting the edge of the counter. Emma's mouth hung open, her body rigid. Clip after clip played, Emma seducing him, the whispered plans, the arguments, every detail they thought was hidden from me. Their own voices screamed their guilt louder than I ever could. Daniel grabbed his head. "Oh God, oh God." Emma lunged toward the remote. "Turn it off." I stepped in front of her. "No." Her eyes darkened, panic swirling through them like storms. "You don't understand." "I understand perfectly," I said. "I saw everything. I heard everything. And now, so will everyone else." But they had no idea who was about to walk through that door. And fate timed it perfectly. As if on cue, a heavy knock rattled the front door. Emma spun toward it, wild-eyed. "Who is that?" I walked calmly to the door, heart pounding but step steady. When I opened it, 2 Atlanta police officers stood on the porch, along with Mr. Lawson. "Mrs. Trump," one officer said, "we received the evidence your attorney forwarded. May we come in?" Emma backed away, shaking her head. "This isn't happening. This isn't." "Emma Brooks," the officer said firmly. "You are under arrest for conspiracy to commit murder." "No," she shrieked. "She's lying. She set us up." The TV kept playing behind her, very loudly, contradicting every word she tried to spit out. Daniel stumbled forward. "Wait, please, I didn't know she was serious." "Mr. Trump," the second officer cut in, "we have audio and video of you participating in the planning. You are also under arrest." Daniel fell to his knees, sobbing. Kate, please. I never wanted." "Stop," I said quietly. He looked up, broken, desperate. I knelt just enough to look him in the eyes, the same eyes I once believed were incapable of hurting me. "You wanted everything," I whispered. "But you didn't expect me to protect myself." Emma screamed again as 2 officers pinned her arms behind her back. "He should have been with me from the beginning," Emma spat at me. "Not with some black charity case Dad felt guilty about. My mom always said he only stayed with your mother because he felt bad. You were never supposed to have what's mine. Everything falls apart when you people get involved." Daniel didn't fight. He couldn't. He just kept whispering my name like it would erase everything he allowed. When they led them out the door, the two people I had loved and trusted, a numbness washed over me. Not relief. Not triumph. Something deeper. A grief you feel when the truth burns away the last illusion you've been clinging to. Mr. Lawson stepped beside me. You did everything right, he said quietly. I nodded slowly, eyes still on the flashing police lights painting the street red and blue. 2 weeks passed before the house stopped feeling haunted. I got rid of the tea kettle first. Then the couch. Then the bedroom set Daniel and I picked out together. Piece by piece, I stripped the house of their fingerprints. The trial was fast. Faster than I expected. The evidence was too clear, too loud, too ugly to ignore. Emma broke first. She cried on the stand. She blamed grief, jealousy, medication, fate, everything but herself. Daniel sat beside his lawyer, staring at the table like the wood grain could save him. Neither of them looked at me. When the verdict came back guilty, people turned to see my reaction. Afterward, Mr. Lawson walked me outside. You can breathe now, he said. I nodded. No more pretending. Some nights, I still replay everything in my mind. Not the affair, I don't think about that anymore. My focus settles on the moment I chose myself over fear. The moment I stopped begging for peace and made room for truth. That's the part that changed me. If stories of betrayal and hidden truths keep you thinking long after they end, click the story showing on your screen now.